Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series that Nickelodeon will be airing this fall. The official trailer just dropped yesterday, I believe it was, and of course before that we had seen the reveals for the character designs and the general art direction for the show, and a lot of people, rightly so, had reacted negatively toward that, the general vision for the series. And now we see all of those fears really come to fruition with the trailer. In this critique, I am going to briefly mention some of the points that I brought up in my critiques of the new Thundercats Roar series and the She-Ra reboot. So talking about the art style, the lack of an iconic feminine or iconic masculine, and so forth. But the real direction I want to take with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is the tendency toward a lack of role models. And not just a lack of role models in general, but a disregard for responsibility as a value to promote for children. The focus is on humor rather than promoting any kind of responsibility. It's ironic because a lot of the television programming for younger kids, really young kids, that's gone in the opposite direction. It used to be back in the day you would plop a very young child down in front of something like Tom and Jerry or something, just anything to keep them occupied. Nowadays you have things like a lot of the Disney Junior programming, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and whatnot, and those shows try to teach. Those shows try to help the child develop. But when they grow a bit older than that, a lot of the programming stops trying to help them to develop and just seeks to entertain, make them laugh, hopefully lead them into the store and buy merchandise. There's no real focus on responsibility. And I'm harping on responsibility because that's a big lesson that heroes should teach children. And the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were conceived as heroes. There's a little bit of an innate silliness in their conception, the idea of four anthropomorphic turtles with masks on. The very name, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's obviously beginning from an absurd premise, but that's what cartoons do, and built on that was a solid mythology, a solid story, and solid characters. In that original series, of course, that began in '87, even on through the 2000 reboot that tried to maintain this idea of who those characters were and the values they promoted. That's the work that heroes do. And we see already in the trailer for this new series coming out in September, we see so much of that just simply disregarded. For one thing, it appears that Leonardo is no longer the leader of the team now. Maybe they've come out and said that in some press releases or whatever, but I'm just speaking from what we've seen from the general imagery and certainly in the trailer. Raphael seems to be the one calling the shots a bit more. And that's an odd choice right off the bat. Raphael's the hothead, right? Raphael's the one who's quick to action. That's not a quality you look for in leadership. But more than just that, there's actually a throwaway joke that you see in the trailer in which at one point one of the turtles says something about, "This is what we've been training for." And Leonardo stops and says, "Wait, training? You guys have been training?" And that's supposed to be a joke. Of course, like, oh, he was left out of that or whatever. That's a horrible joke. First of all, it's a cheap joke. It's not really even all that funny. But in order to make that cheap joke, the series has to commit to the fact that Leonardo didn't even train, so one of the brothers doesn't even train with the rest of them. That's irresponsible. And if that wasn't enough, after the trailer, the video I watched on YouTube featured a clip from the series, and it has the four Ninja Turtles on top of a rooftop, and they are looking through their binoculars. On another rooftop, you see something going down, like a big mob boss getting ready to receive payment or something like that, something going down, and the turtles fire their grappling line across the way, and they're going to wait for the certain moment, and they're sliding across the grappling line, and you get the idea that they're about to engage in some sort of hero work. Raphael's in front, of course, and he raises his fist to tell the rest of the turtles to wait for it as they're sliding down this line. And then he finally gives the go-ahead, and you see them slide past the rooftop with the mob, whatever's going on up there. They go past that rooftop into the next one with a pool on the roof. And he gives the go-ahead, and they drop, and they all do big cannonballs in the pool, which splashes all the water out of the pool. Then this new version of April O'Neil, this infantilized, young, diversity-envisioned version of April O'Neil cheers for them. And I guess that's supposed to be funny. That's a joke. Ooh, misdirection. You thought we were going to do some responsible hero work, but we're just splashing into a pool. And then after that moment, they get ready to leave, and the character who's calling herself April O'Neil anyway says, "Wait a minute," and she puts out 2 signs, one to warn people that the surface is slippery, and then one to warn people that the pool has no water in it. And that's supposed to be responsible? That's some sort of lesson? Don't worry about the fact that we just did this to a pool that we didn't own, that we just wrecked it, splashed all the water out of it. It's okay because we put a couple signs up to call attention to the fact of what we did, so we can pat ourselves on the back and call ourselves responsible. This is insane. This is what children's programming has come to today. And you compare this to something like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You compare Thundercats Roar to the original Thundercats, and you can see the vast difference in the type of values and the type of character that those shows were trying to promote in children, and the complete lack of interest that these shows today have in trying to promote anything like that. And I do not think it's a coincidence that the art style is so cheap nowadays. Hypothetically, you could imagine a situation where the show might have a lot of substance, but the art style would be very cheap. So I'm not necessarily saying that these two are always and every time going to be linked, but I don't think it's a coincidence, because this art style, people try to say, well, it's just a different style, it's not to your taste, whatever, leave it alone, it's just a different style. No, it's not that. It's a different style, yes, but there's a reason that this style comes into play, because it's easier, it's cheaper, it's lazy. The Cal art style, for example, which is most prominently on display in the Thundercats Roar, with the B-shaped faces and everything, that style was developed because it's easier to mass produce. You can draw all of the characters looking basically the same. You can more quickly produce the images for the cartoon. Now, cutting corners in animation isn't anything new. I mean, the Hanna-Barbera cartoons were doing that way back in the day. So it's not necessarily a link between how much money a company's wanting to spend on it and how much substance the writers are going to place in the show. But I do think that it's all part of the same general problem, which is a push from the production companies just to make the money and not to worry about the effect that these shows are having on children. The original Masters of the Universe series, they sent that into a person who would draw out a moral from each story, and then they drew that out at the end of each episode. The Thundercats had a psychologist on staff, a child psychologist, looking at the effect these stories were going to have on children. Go ahead and tell me what kind of concern Teen Titans Go has for that. And you can see from the trailers of Thundercats Roar and of this new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you can see that there's no concern there whatsoever, which I suspect might be the case, even if perhaps the first season of this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a story about the team coming together a bit and starting to take things more seriously and maybe trying to stop some evil and trying to be a bit better. It's still a vast step away from the level of seriousness that the first series took responsibility. I mean, these characters made mistakes all over the place, and they were young, they're teenagers, they showed their youthful mistakes all the time, but the priority was never a question. They always knew, even in the midst of their muck-ups, that they should be acting better. These characters, as they're presented now in this trailer, and the art and everything, have no concern for that. And even if it's something they sort of slowly develop, that's still a vast step away from the prominence that this idea was given in earlier incarnations and in the original conception of the characters, what they were created to promote. We do have in this series a difference in character designs between the turtles. That's something new. Raphael looks like a more strongly built turtle and so forth. Some people might point to that as a great new development, but I think that's actually a problem, because the unity of design among the 4 turtles up to this point has always pointed to the fact that they're family, that they have these things in common, and that's a visual cue, but they still maintain their distinct individual personalities and abilities. And we saw that indicated by the different colors of their masks and so forth, their different weapons, the different things they would engage in, Donatello the inventor, Leonardo the leader, and so forth. That's a great visual cue and symbolism that's lost here. And then the idea of April O'Neil, the complete and total remake. Again, they've de-aged her, infantilized her into this short little CalArts-like character body. And that's a huge step away from the original archetype of her character, because she played on the idea of a Lois Lane type character. But rather than a Lois Lane love interest, because there are 4 heroes and she's only one, you had her represent more of a feminine force that the Turtles had to integrate into their growth. Being adolescents and learning how to be heroes and take on responsibility in the world, they had this fully grown woman, fully realized feminine force in their lives, and sometimes she was the damsel, sometimes they had to save her, but she was also very intelligent and could aid them in many ways, and having her transcend that role of just love interest, because she wasn't going to be a love interest of all 4 turtles, or our turtle in general anyway. She became a very special kind of character, a motherly type character almost, to Splinter's fatherly type character to them. I don't see this new April O'Neil becoming that at all. First of all, they de-aged her so much. People act like that's some sort of defense, especially with the She-Ra nonsense. Well, they've de-aged her, so it's fine. No, it's not. That's part of the problem. So that's just another nail in the coffin of this series. It's nonsense, and from a mythological standpoint, it's just another symptom of the degradation of the types of stories our culture is putting forth to our children. That's a sad thing. So those are my thoughts on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans, what are some great comic runs? What are other great sources of good iconic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles stories that we can seek out in this time of their deconstruction and infantilizing and so forth? I will be back soon with more. But wait, don't go anywhere yet. As I was editing this video, I just noticed that not only did Nickelodeon release the trailer, they've also released the first episode on YouTube. I steeled my stomach and watched it, and it is so much worse than I thought it would be. Everything I've said in the trailer review is absolutely relevant, but not only did they remove our feminine mother figure in April O'Neil, just to place a sassy sister can do it for herself type character in, they completely demolished Splinter. So no more father figure. He's a ridiculous character that the Turtles themselves do not respect. He's laughable, he's oafish, basically just seen as a fat old man who likes to watch television. This is an abomination. Not only an absolute abomination to the world of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, who the characters are in it and everything they stand for, but it completely flies in the face of everything you'd want to teach a child. Don't respect elders. Don't worry about having any kind of father figure. You don't need that. You don't really even need a mother figure as long as you have a sassy female in your life who shows you that women can do things for themselves. Then just go out, make up the rules as you see fit. Don't worry about preparing. It's all good. Attitude will carry you all the way through in life. I feel like I was watching the Thundercats Roar trailer again, thinking this has to be a joke. Clearly this is a joke. Please tell me this is a joke. I'm going to hear this Saturday Night Live music at some point. But it's not a joke. People actually think this is going to be some wonderful show and it's some great art worth hyping up for children. This is nonsense. So, good luck, world. But, as you were hearing me say a moment ago, I will be back soon. And until then, keep enjoying and digging deeper into some better hero stories that you enjoy. Thanks for watching.